For centuries, Russia had been cut off from the culture and ideas of the West. But in St. Petersburg, you see a whole nation making up for lost time. Peter the Great began the immense project of Europeanizing Russia by founding the city in 1703. But he never lived to see the imperial splendor of its architecture. Its brightly colored palaces were created in the decades after Peter's death by his daughter. She would dress St. Petersburg up in the colors of 1,000 ball gowns. Her name was Tsarina Elizabeth I. Elizabeth's been rather written out of Russian history. Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, never Elizabeth the Great. But she was great in her own way, and she certainly left her mark on Russian culture. Because when we come to St. Petersburg and we admire its wonderfully elegant architecture, what we're really admiring is her taste. Peter might have got St. Petersburg built, but it was Elizabeth who really decided what it would look like. Elizabeth was positively bacchanalian in her pursuit of pleasure. She loved parties and masquerades, and she was drawn to the grandiose European style of the Baroque. In the 1740s, she employed an architect with Italian blood, Bartolomeo Rastrelli, but their buildings have a distinctly Russian feeling of excess. The Catherine Palace was Elizabeth's own Versailles, but on an even grander scale. The facade's nearly 1/4 mile across. And this, the Smolny, was Elizabeth and Rastrelli's version of a convent. Their take on the Baroque was an exotic hybrid, painted in bright colours like the churches of old Russia, and topped with glittering onion domes. Now, Elizabeth was no mere follower of fashion. She was one of the most dynamic and progressive patrons of art and architecture of the entire 18th century. And when you look at this wonderful wedding cake of a building, I think what you realise is that she brought into the world of Russian art a new spirit of panache and theatricality, and nowhere else in Europe was the Baroque style